Mike Levy, and welcome to the field test value discussion. Trail bike field test. Welcome to the field test trail bike value discussion. Mountain bikes can cost a lot of money, especially if you like to have the latest and fanciest gear. And let's be honest here, it's not like any of these field test bikes are inexpensive. I mean, we have a Specialized S-Works Stumpy here that costs $9,500 American. What's left to upgrade on that thing? Well, absolutely nothing, because I'd have no money left over. I'm Mike Levy, and welcome to the field test value trail bike discussion. The least expensive trail bike of the bunch is that SLX equipped Mojo that goes for a bit over $6,200, including the upcharge for the carbon wheels and handlebar. That thing sounds like a damn steal compared to that Stumpjumper, doesn't it? Well, maybe, sort of. But to make things a little bit clearer, we're gonna break down each model lineup and see which one makes the most sense. Which one of these bikes gives you the most bang for your buck? Let's get into it. Well, we might as well start with that fancy S-Works bike. It's the most expensive at $9,500 American, and I don't think I need to convince you that it's not worth it. S-Works is about having all the things, and with a wireless Axis drivetrain, crazy light and wide carbon wheels, and factory level suspension, it has all those things and rides very well because of it. I'm sure you're shocked, I know, but this isn't the one I would buy regardless. It just costs so much money. But there are 6 Stumpies to choose from, with the other 3 carbon models costing $7,000 for the Pro, $4,700 American for the Expert, $4,000 American for the Comp. It's important to note that all use Fox forks with either the Grip or Grip 2 damper, all have 4-piston brakes, and all have the exact same geometry as they're all based on the same carbon frame. The biggest difference is the alloy wheels on the Expert and Comp. The others have carbon hoops. Geo and suspension are everything, so if you really want a carbon frame, it's hard to ignore that $4,000 Comp model that comes with SLX. Now that's a favorable spec compared to the others at the same price. But if you don't care about carbon frames, well, that $2,300 Stumpy looks like a deal, but I like the look of the $3,200 Comp alloy that comes with more capable suspension as well as an NX drivetrain instead of the SX drivetrain. Now there is one note here, the aluminum bikes actually still used Horst link suspension, where the carbon ones have that linkage driven single pivot with the flex pivot. Now I'm sure they act a bit differently on the trail, but I haven't ridden the aluminum bike yet, so I can't compare. Alright, on to Giant's 135mm travel Trans X Advanced. And I know the only one you're interested in buying is the Fancy Pants $8,500 version with the battery powered suspension that I tested. But I'm going to talk about the others just in case someone out there possibly, maybe, might kind of want a different version without live valve. I mean, who knows, right? If you want to keep it to carbon, there are 3 versions to choose from. The expensive Zero model that I have, the $5,500 One model, or the $4,500 Two model, all of which see their parts hanging off the same carbon frame. They also all have carbon wheels as well, although the Zero gets a lighter version. The pricier One comes with Fox's high-end fork and shock, whereas Two gets the less expensive Pike Select with the Charger RC damper, and it's GX versus NX for the drivetrain. But it's the aluminum models that stand out most to me. If you're okay with ditching the Advanced tag in favor of aluminum, I like the look of the $3,200 Trans X 29-2 that gets a Fox 36 with a grip damper and an SLX drivetrain. That is absolutely bang for your buck, especially compared to what most others offer at this price point. Ibis's $6,200 Mojo is the least expensive of the bunch. But does the SLX and carbon wheeled bike that I reviewed offer the most performance for your bucks of the 5 bikes? Well, if it were my pennies, I'd have a real hard time looking past the least expensive Deore spec Mojo that cost $4,500 American. We've been super impressed with that drivetrain, and that money also gets you a Fox 34 with a Grip 2 damper. On to the crazy Acto 5P train, and am I really supposed to talk about value in the same sentence as a high-end handmade exotic that was made by a single guy in Germany in very small numbers? I'm supposed to anyway, so here goes. Now, the frame on its own is somewhere around $4,000 American without a shock, depending on exchange rates, duties, and the mood of obscure shipping rules designed to make things as difficult as possible. And if you want your Exotica with a shock, well, that'll be even more Deutschmarks, please. It's around $4,600 American with an EXT Storia, because you're not going to put something boring on it, are you? I hope not. Now, Simon doesn't sell complete bikes, but I don't think anyone is going to be hanging an SX drivetrain or cheap fork off the front of this thing. The question is, if I wanted this frame but needed to build it up without going crazy, in other words, parts that won't hold back an amazing descender but that also won't bankrupt me, what would I use? For a fork, I might get something like a Pike Select with a Charger RC damper. Now, that's not the latest and highest end 2.1 Charger damper, but it's really impressed me with its performance, and the difference between that and the most expensive version, meh, I'm kind of okay with it. The P-Train was made to descend, so 4-piston brakes are a must as well. Shimano's bite point inconsistencies rule them out for me, but SRAM, TRP, and Hayes all offer good stuff at reasonable prices. Wheels would be aluminum, of course, and they'd either be Stans or from Spank, but not those god-awful colorful ones, just some nice black rims. Another place I'd save some money is tires. I'd pick up some big meat from Vittoria or Specialized, rather than spending nearly twice as much on Maxxis or Schwalbe. On to Barney, Salsa's 140mm travel Blackthorn. There are 3 carbon bikes, 2 aluminum bikes, and I should probably point out that they also sell not only a carbon frame for the usual carbon price, but also an aluminum frame shock for $2,100 American. That's notable, as very few other brands offer a relatively inexpensive aluminum frame on its own, worth keeping in mind if you already have some decent suspension and parts to throw at it. Speaking of aluminum, I had assumed that one of the 2 aluminum Blackthorns would make the most sense. They sport the same geometry as the carbon ones after all, but both come with value-minded forks that use 2nd or 3rd tier dampers. If you're an experienced, hard-charging rider who's used to high-end stuff, you'll definitely notice the difference. This is where money can definitely buy more performance, with the $4,900 carbon SLX Blackthorn being the least expensive version that I'd want to buy. Now, it's not inexpensive, I know, but that gets you a mostly SLX drivetrain, surprise, 4-piston brakes, and a Lyric with RockShox's awesome Charger 2.1 damper. So if value is the question, the real answer is an aluminum frame with a high-end suspension fork, or at least one that uses the best possible air spring and damper for the money. Now, we don't see enough of that these days, but we definitely should. Now, with that in mind, the bike that stands out to me is the aluminum Giant Trance X2 that costs $3,200 American. And that money gets you the same adjustable geometry as the carbon bike, as well as a Fox 36 with a grip damper and the ever impressive SLX drivetrain. I mean, what else do you need? So if you ask me, out of all the versions of all these bikes, it is hard to ignore that Giant Trance X2. But let me know in the comments, am I completely out to lunch or did I nail it?